You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Good evening, I'm Bill Mulholland, and welcome to Good Sports Classics, as we begin our 35th year of featuring the stories of Blackstone Valley athletes. Tonight, we take a deep dive into the professional hockey life of longtime Lincoln resident and Rhode Island Hockey Hall of Famer, Ross Brooks. Brooksy is a Toronto native, where he worked his way up the junior hockey league ladder in Ontario during the 1950s. His pro career ran from 1956 to 1976, with a 6-year goaltending stint with the Providence Reds from 1964 to 1970, and as a 35-year-old, 5'9", 172-pound National Hockey League rookie goalie with the Boston Bruins from 1972 to 1974, where he compiled an outstanding record of 37 wins, 7 losses, and 6 ties in the net. Welcome to Good Sports Classics, Brooksy.
We're happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
And congratulations on your 35 years.
Yes.
Wow, they haven't caught on to you yet.
They have not. I haven't got any call up to the big leagues either, but
They will.
we tell the stories. That's the main thing, and you've got great stories to tell. Now, Brooksy, tell us about your experience in Canada's junior hockey leagues.
Well, I started playing in Toronto and as a kid, obviously moving up through the Toronto Hockey League, which had about 7,000 kids in it, because it was a big city thing. And then, you know, you progress up, you go to high school and you get in, then you start playing junior hockey, and you play junior B, C, D, whatever. And then your goal is to get to junior A hockey, which I did, and play for the Barrie Flyers. But on the way up, I played for, you know, the Lakeshore Bruins, and funny, it was just always a Bruins organization.
By coincidence?
By coincidence. I wasn't on their list or anything, but that's how it worked out. And junior hockey was great because you played in Maple Leaf Gardens and you played before a lot of people.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was. They had Saturday afternoon doubleheaders where they packed the building and.
For junior hockey?
Junior hockey.
We're talking amateurs at this point in time.
Yeah. And they had teams that were unbelievable, like, you know, the Toronto Marlboros and St. Mike's College had a team, and they were terrific. Peterborough had a team. Barrie Flyers always had good teams, and so it was a thrill to play in that league. And if you got there, it was the next step to getting, hopefully, to the NHL. Which. Yeah.
And how was it compiled? I mean, how did they put a team together? Were they?
Well, it was just you know, residual. Every year they added players, kept players. You know, you graduated, kids got older and graduated out of the school after.
So would the coach go up and, you know, talk to you and say, hey, look, I want Brooksy, I want you to play for us for next year?
They would send somebody talk to you, or they would watch you play, and then they'd tell that coach, look, tell him I want to do this, and it just worked out that way. And you had to play well to get recognized. That was it.
Sure. And so why goaltending?
That's the only thing I ever did.
Yeah, but
in
you didn't want to score goals, or, you know, be on the front page of everything else?
No, I wasn't a big kid. I was, you know, wasn't big, and 5'9" or 5'8.5", whatever the hell it was. It wasn't, you know, great to be that. There was guys 6 feet playing. You remember when Larry Robinson was one of the biggest guys, and he was only 6'2". And look at the guys today that are 6'7", 6'8".
In goal, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
A couple of them have, yeah. So, but I always just wanted to. I started to play it and liked it, and just took it.
And got good at it.
In high school, because I played junior hockey, I couldn't play on the varsity team, so I played defense, and it was kind of fun.
Sure.
You learn how to skate anyway.
And you had a better understanding as a goalie what the defenseman needed to do for you, right?
I didn't play a lot of it, but it was, everything's a learning process anyway.
Absolutely. Now, Brooksy, you told me before the show that you were scared to death when you were called up to play minor league pro hockey for the North Bay Trappers in 1958 at age 18, right? Your first time to get getting paid?
Well, I finished playing juniors and then with Barry, and then the next year I went to training camp in Boston, believe it or not, took the train to Boston.
From Toronto?
Toronto.
Okay.
And then they sent me to North Bay at the time, and I'd never been there. Charlie Scherzer was the coach at the time.
Chuck Scherzer from Pawtucket.
Right.
Okay.
And
interesting.
And it was, I'm 18 and never been anywhere, and then all of a sudden you're on a bus and you go to a town, North Bay, which is north of Toronto a bit, and you're in a town, and then you're on a team and you're getting paid and you're living wherever, and it's just like, holy jumping, I got to do this, and it's scary. Yeah. I mean, even kids today, it's like a kid going to college for the first time. He's away from home. He can't go to the refrigerator and grab whatever he wants. It's something that you have to learn to do, and some kids can't do it, and some kids can. There's hockey guys who were homesick.
Okay, and I'm sure other guys who are happy to be away from mom and dad and went in another direction and just went wild and crazy, right? Just like college kids do at times.
Right, it's the same situation. You're just playing the sport. You're not. And in those days, college wasn't a thing. It was you played hockey. If you wanted to get up the ladder, you just had to go play, and you didn't play for a college team. You played for a pro team.
Okay, and that was 1958 we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Now, Brooksy, one of my favorite sports movies is Slapshot. Is the movie a realistic depiction of minor league hockey?
Well, it is in one sense.
Okay.
I played in the Eastern Hockey League in Philadelphia, and that was the EAHL. And that movie is verbatim what that league is. So if you watch that movie...
Tell me a couple of stories.
You look at everything that goes on.
Yeah.
Well, you're playing in Philadelphia on a Friday night, and the game's over. You go home, you go to bed, you get up in the morning, you get on a bus, and you go to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and you play that game that night. You get back on the bus, you go back to Philly, you go to bed, you get up at 10 o'clock in the morning, you get on another bus, and you go back to Long Island to play the Ducks at 3 o'clock. After the game's over, we rush like heck to go back to New York, get into New York to watch the Rangers play the last second or third period of the game, go back to Philly. That's a weekend.
Wow.
And so...
so Monday through Friday, what are you doing with yourself?
Well, you practice every day.
Okay.
You're on the ice every day, or you have one day off, and then you have an apartment. You're always living with a couple of guys or whatever. And you just do whatever, you're relaxed to do. There was probably more drinking in those days than there is now. I don't think the guys drink like they did back then.
Well,
I'm talking the Eastern League. I'm talking with the Eastern League,
sure.
And the crazy stuff that goes on. And, you're just, when you're on the road, if you ever stayed over, it was like, you're looking for a place to go and have a few beers and whatever, and that turns into different things. So.
Sure.
And but that movie is exactly.
Is it really?
Yes.
And the fans, same way. They're
friggin'
rabid fans.
They were crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy fans, and Paul Newman played it to a T. I mean, he was a captain, and there was guys just like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what was the pay then? Or were you
paid by the week.
Okay, but enough in order to exist, but nothing to do anything extravagant, right?
You didn't make any money, no. We never made money with the Reds, for God's sake. Ask the guys around here, Stan Baluch and Bobby Leduc, or Bobby Leduc and Stan, crazy. You made enough money. We had to work in the summer.
Right, yes, yeah. Well, I know Mr.
get
Scherzer
by.
went over and was driving a Narragansett beer truck during those times.
He could pick up those kegs with 2 hands. He was unbelievable. He was a nice man.
Absolutely. He was one of my neighbors, just lived down the street,
Yeah.
so we all knew Mr. Scherzer. We always
Yeah.
had hockey sticks coming out and everything
then,
else.
Then he got into the refereeing and the linesman. He was a linesman at the Reds games after him and Art Lessier were 2 linesmen. They had 2 eyes between them.
That's right, because he had
both had lost 1 eye. Yeah.
with hockey things.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember George Patrick Duffy. One of my first shows when we started in 1992 was with George Patrick Duffy and Chuck Scherzer. And they were talking about what a fighter that he was, that once he grabbed you by the shirt, I mean, he could pound as good as anybody.
Yeah, he was so strong. I mean, that's when he worked for Narragansett too. But playing hockey, he was just, he had that look. And you look at him and say, okay, I'm getting away from this guy, because he was a tough guy, but a good hockey player and an honest guy.
And a good man, absolutely.
He was an excellent guy.
So talking about the Providence Reds, let's move on to your 6 years playing for the American Hockey League Providence Reds from 1964 to 1970.
Or not playing.
Or not playing. I'll give you a subject, you tell a story. All right, so playing in the Rhode Island Auditorium with its assortment of characters. What was it like to play in the auditorium?
Well, it was good for the first period, and after the start of the second period, you had trouble seeing the other end of the rink for the smoke, because everybody smoked in the place, and there was no much ventilation of any kind in there. And there was the fans were, if you went to the game and the guy you were going with wasn't there, you'd say, "Where the hell is Bill? He didn't come tonight. He must be sick. We got to call him," because they never missed games.
Yeah.
But they were rapid fans, and we had a guy, Larry from Lincoln. He used to chirp at guys all the time. He was always chirping, and he was behind the visitors' bench. And the worst thing you could do was look at him. If you looked at him, he was going to get on you, and it was just. But that's the way the fans were.
Sure.
A guy threw a chicken on the ice one night, and the chicken.
How did he get it through?
He threw it over the.
So he must have brought it underneath his coat, or?
Well, yeah. Nobody's checking anything in those days.
Then, yeah.
My God, and he threw the chicken on the ice. I remember that, and that was unique. Where the hell would you see that? But there was sections where you could play cards. If you wanted to play cards with guys, there was sections. If you wanted to bet on the game, you could go there, and the guys there'd be bookies in there. You could do that. And other guys, if you wanted to get stuff that you would like to get, accumulate or something, hot stuff at the time, you could go in there and there would be guys that do that. It was just a Damon Runyon building.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just classic. My father used to take me on Sunday nights to watch the Reds games, and there was lots of blood on the ice also. Fighting was one of the big things to watch there too during the 60s, right?
Well, they used to bring guys in just because of that. Bob Kelly was one. Who was the other guy? I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, he came in. He come from the West Coast. And he came in, and he was a fighter, and he was a good fighter, and he was fighting, and then he stopped fighting, and the fans started booing him, and he wouldn't fight. They wouldn't pay his fines. They wanted to fight everybody, but they wouldn't pay the fines. Oh. And you don't make enough money to pay a fine.
Yeah.
So he said, "Screw it! I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to fight. I get misconducts, and I get this. The league fines me, and they won't pay it." So he stopped fighting.
And so with the Providence Reds, you flew to some of the games, and you bussed to some of the games, I would think, right?
We bussed most of the time.
Did you?
Flying was unique if we did that,
But you got a story about Chappie the pilot?
Chappie was he was a character, and he liked his tea. He liked to have his tea, and then he'd fly the next day, and you'd see him in some gin mill, and on the road, and you go, when we did fly, and you'd say, "Oh my God, you're flying tomorrow?" And he said, "You don't think I want to go down, do you?" "I ain't going down. We're flying this plane." And we flew a DC-3.
Which is what?
It's a small 2-engine plane.
Prop?
Prop.
Okay.
Where the plane was like this, and you had to load the aisle with your bags for weight to make sure everything was weighted right. It was unbelievable. And we were flying from Buffalo to Providence, and we had to stop in Syracuse because we only had one engine.
Okay. When you were up in the air, you only had one engine?
Correct.
Okay.
So after after it all happened, he said, you know what? He said, I could fly this plane to Florida with one engine. These DC-3s were made that way.
Yeah. And did he ever let you up into the cockpit?
Yeah, a lot of guys were nervous to fly. I mean, guys would be grabbing us, because
white knuckles.
Because in DC-3s you were bouncing up and down, and you'd hit a pocket and you'd go holy jumping, and guys everybody was nervous about but he said. So he said to me one day, he said, you want to come up and sit with me once if you don't feel right. So I did. So I went up, and he had a co-pilot, obviously, and there was a seat in the middle, and I sat in the middle, and he said, now just sit here and he said, it'll cure you from being nervous.
Okay.
Because
so what did you see?
You saw what was going on. You saw when you hit the thing that it was just part of their flight, and it was, the air pockets that you would hit, and you go up, you go down. The only trouble thing was when you went through a storm, and it was forever. It was probably 2 or 3 minutes, but it seemed like forever.
Sure.
And it kind of cured me from being nervous.
Well, that was a good thing.
Yeah, it was.
Now your roommate, Eddie Jockman, your also fellow goalie.
Yeah.
You've got a nice TV story about Eddie Jockman. Talk about Eddie Jockman first off.
Yeah, he was. He was with the Reds. That's where I met him, and then he got tagged by the Rangers, which was a big thing for him. And
right.
He was a very good goaltender. He was a good guy. We were good friends. He just passed away last year, and he was a very good goaltender. He worked hard at it, and I should have worked a little harder. I would have maybe been so long playing, but he played, and when he went to the Rangers, he did real well. And
yes, he did.
He did very well. We're rooming together. Mrs. McGurl had a house across the street from the old auditorium, and she would take in players in different times of the year for 2 days, 3 days, and so it was training camp, and Eddie and I were staying there. We were in the same room. So we wanted to get a television, so we went up to Murray's on North Main Street, and a guy named Howie Adler was one of our buddies who worked there and kind of ran the place for Murray. I forget Murray Friedman.
Okay.
So
we're talking 1960s now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So we buy a TV, an Emerson TV that had a shut-off automatically. So if you watched it for an hour and a half, after the thing went to an hour and a half, the TV would shut off. It was good for us because if we were at night and we'd fall asleep, the TV would be off.
Color, black and white?
Black and white.
Okay, yeah.
So
Remember
we get the
those days.
TV home, we take it out of the box, put it on the thing, and all we see is snow. We change the channels, we fix the rabbit ears, we did everything. So we said, screw this, we're going back. So we put it back in the box, we go back up, put it on the counter, and Howie says, what's going on? He said, I said, this thing is nothing but snow. I said, he said, where are you guys from? You got to be from Canada. So he starts busting us up. So he said, we'll fix this for you. So he said, and you're going to watch us do this. So we called the guy in. The guy turned the TV on its side, took the box off, and on the back was a crate type thing. It was on a crate, and it was screwed into the TV. So he unscrewed everything, took it out of the crate, put it back, put it on the counter, plugged it in. He said, you two guys from Canada, you didn't know you had to take the crate out the TV? So that was a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he never let us forget that.
How about negotiating contracts with Reds owner Lou Peary? Now,
There wasn't one.
No?
No,
No.
it was either with Buster Clegg or Dave Creighton at the time, the managers, or Buster worked for them for quite a while, and Lou never got into that at all. He threw his money around like manhole covers. He was always known as a cheap guy.
Oh.
Didn't want to pay. And
So you did, during those times, you didn't have an agent to go over and represent you. You sat down with Clegg and...
If you had an agent, you were blackballed in those days.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you didn't have anybody doing that.
And you didn't tell anyone how much you made, because I know that when we had Chuck Scherzer on, he says, Billy, we never told anybody what we made at that point in time. We went in and just negotiated ourselves.
People would know because you had to work in the summer. So what did you make? You know, if you weren't a big athlete making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
so tell me how it would go.
So you would just go in and you'd sit down on this. They'd say, "Here's your contract. This is what we're gonna." And you'd say, "Well, I'd like to get this." And, well, we can't do that. That was always, we can't do that. Two of us held out for $500 when my second or third year that I was there. $500, and they made us sweat for 2 weeks.
How
we
so?
finally got the 200. No, we're not paying you. That's it. You're not worth it. You're just $500. Can you imagine $500 today and $500 today in the 60s? And that was how you did it. And you either signed the contract or you didn't. And if you didn't, they'd let you go.
Yeah. And 1-year contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And were the Reds affiliated with anyone during your time there?
The
NHL.
The Rangers and the Oakland Golden Seals.
Okay.
That went for a short period of time.
All right. So you had a good run there, but in 1970.
I did and I didn't. Because I didn't play much, and I played on the road. I played here, I played there, and it was frustrating. And it was partly my fault too for not maybe being more forceful and practicing better, doing more. But then it came in '70 when they let me go, and I lived in Lincoln at the time. I had family, the whole thing, and then I just didn't know what to do. And a friend of mine.
Did it come as a surprise when you?
Yeah.
So did you sit down to do the contract again?
No, this was during the season. This was in January, and we're just letting you go. That's it. And they could do that, and you didn't. Then you didn't get paid.
Right. Yes.
So anyway. Long story, but
That's okay.
I had a friend that was in his wedding party that we played junior together, and he was the coach at Oklahoma City. And he called me and said, "Hey, I just saw on the thing you were let go." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Muzz, the guys, it wasn't a fun time." I said, "It was, and they didn't really give a damn about how you were living, what you were going to do. They didn't care anything about that.
Yeah.
It just showed me that how much they cared about you. It was all about you do good, you're with you. When you do bad, goodbye."
It's just a business.
So he said, "How would you like to come out here and finish the year here?" And I said, "You're kidding." He said, "No." He said, "I talked to Milt Schmidt, and he said that if you want to get him, go ahead." And so I said, I said, "Oklahoma City?" He said, "Yep." He said, "We'll pay you the same salary that you're getting paid in Providence. We'll pay all your expenses back and forth, fly you out, and we'll pay your expenses while you're here for the rest of the year." And I said, "When's the next plane?"
But you've got to leave your family now. I mean, there's no going home for any of those, right?
But that was, it was a job.
Right.
So that was, I wasn't going to turn the money down because I needed it, and then I was going to work in the summer anyway. But so we agreed that was the thing to do. So the way I go out there. And
okay. Now, Brooksy, before we get into your NHL career, I want you to give us sort of a behind-the-curtain perspective on the life and times of a goaltender. So let's start with getting dressed before a game. So let's say you're still playing for the Reds, or you show up at the auditorium at what time for a 7 o'clock game?
Well, you would be there at 5:30 or so.
Okay.
You might, sometimes you come earlier, but 5:30, so you're there a good hour before you had to go on the ice for warm-ups. And you would, every hockey player has something that he does all the time before a game. It's
A routine,
a
right?
nervous situation or whatever. And, you know, I didn't have too much of that, but I dressed the same way every game. When I put my...
What's the first thing you do?
You put your underwear on. You know, we all wore long underwear at the time. You wear that.
Like long johns?
Long johns, yeah.
Okay.
And we all had that.
Top and bottom?
One piece.
Oh, one piece?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you button it up and
Like the old pajamas that
yeah,
you'd
because
see?
you were out on, it was cold, and that was the way where you keep your heat in your body.
Yeah.
You know, and then you dress as you go.
So what's next?
You put your socks on, and you put your garter belt on to hook your socks, and then you would take your pants and pull your pants on, and then you'd leave everything else to the end.
Did you wear a cup?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was already on.
All
and
right.
then you put your skates on, tie your skates, and then you had to put your pads on after you put your skates on, and then that would take a few minutes, and you did that. Then you'd stand up and you'd make sure everything felt okay, and your pads felt okay, and they were tight enough because they were all straps, and
Yeah.
and then you put your arm pads on, and then your shoulder pads, which was usually all one piece, and you put it on that way.
So where were you not protected? So what?
On the side
On the sides?
On the sides, yeah, you wouldn't be protected there, but your pants would come up and you'd get hit and you'd be bruised inside your pants. And I had put rolls inside my pants so that if the puck went in there, it would cushion it a bit. You still get bruised. And your arms were always bruised. And then you put your shirt on, and then you went on the ice and had your mask.
So what were your gloves like?
Leather.
Okay.
One was a blocker, and the other was a catching glove.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And your stick, what was your stick like?
No, it was a
Wood?
Northland Pro wood, and they were different lies. Mine was a lie 14.
What does that mean?
The lie, the way it sits like the handle would go up like this, so 14 would be like this. A higher lie, 15, 16 would be higher.
Okay.
It's the way you stood because of different size. You were different height. Some guys were...
So the taller guys would have a different angle than you would at 5'10"?
They might have a 15 or 16 because they were taller, and then a lot of guys were lower. They had some guys had 11 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I stopped over at your house, and you showed me your mask. So when you were coming up, up to what point in time in your career did you not wear a mask?
Well, I wore a mask. I was with the Reds when I got a mask, and it was probably in the late 60s. I got hit in practice, because you always get hit in practice. You don't get hit in the game. So we didn't wear masks in practice. We didn't wear masks.
Mouth guards?
No mouth guards, no nothing. And so I got hit in practice for 20 stitches up here. Got hit in the head and whatever. And so after I got stitched, and that was the end of that. And I just...
Who was your trainer then?
George Army.
Yes, and George Patrick Duffy and Chuck Scherzer talked about how wonderful that man was. You could stitch anybody up.
He was better than the doctor. We used to wait for the doctor to go home. Really?
That's what they said, okay.
Or he'd stitch you the next day. The doctor would do it, and he said, come in the morning and I'll redo it. And that happened to me in Buffalo. I got hit in Buffalo, and I had and he said, you don't want to have a scar there. That guy didn't do a good job. I said, gee, thanks. And so he said, 9 o'clock tomorrow, come in.
Take the stitches out, and then...
He took them out, no Novocaine. They just stitched you back up, and I don't have a scar.
Yeah, okay.
And the scar, I'm sure I got the scar in the head, and that's when I said I want to get a mask. So that was Ernie Higgins up in Walpole, and he was the guy that was making masks at the time, and I think I was the second or third guy that had one made. And
Really?
went up and met him, and
Made out of what?
it's a resin that they put on like strips, and then first of all, well, anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to get a mask, and I said I want to get a mask for practice. So I don't know how it transpired, but I finally got one.
Okay.
So I had to go up there. They coat your whole face with Vaseline, and then they put the resin on it's pieces of fiberglass, and they wet it and put it on, and then they wet it and put it on. They mold it, so it's molded right here. They put 2 straws in your nose so that you can breathe, because they have to cover everything.
Yeah.
And then they cut it out after the fact. It's a process, and he was really good at it, and he was such a nice man. He was a real gentleman, and we used to tweak the masks ourselves, because you could file it down with a file where the holes were to make them a little larger.
Sure.
So you could see or
breathe, right?
And then we put clear nail polish on to seal it, and that would seal the mask. And you take it back at the end of the year for him to refurbish it, and he'd say, "You screwed with this mask." And he was right, but
And how about for your mouth? What was it? Was it?
Just they cut out they had holes for your mouth and holes underneath so that your sweat would drop out, and there was just padding inside, and so it stopped getting cut, but it didn't stop getting
Hurt.
bruised or
Yeah.
But
Now, did Jockerman have one before you?
we both got one together.
Did you? Okay.
Pretty much the same time, yeah.
All right. And so you had told me before the show you were a stand-up angular goalie.
Yep.
Tell me what that means, as opposed to what?
Well, the goal hasn't changed since the game was invented. The 4x6 is the net, the crease and everything. They changed the crease to make it round now instead of square. It used to be a square. And when a man's coming down with the puck, your net is here and you're standing here, you got to make sure that you're in the right position so that he doesn't see a whole bunch of net here and a whole bunch of net here. You try to take it away, and the only way you take it away is you move out a little bit, and when you move out, the net shrinks.
Right.
If you come back in, the net will open up. So that's how you play an angle. And in the old days, we were taught not to go down. You don't go down. You don't go on the ice. You stay up. And very hard to do, because sometimes you just have to go down.
With a kick save, right?
With a kick save, and then you're already down, and then you got to get back up and get going. And
How difficult is it to get back up?
Not difficult.
No, you just pop right up, right? That's what you do, right?
You're a young guy. It does, you're like it's us trying to get up now. It's
Sure.
the same.
Yes.
So you just take that and go back 50 years or whatever.
Yeah. All right. And so Chicago Blackhawks, all right? You got the 2 Hull boys, all right? You got Bobby and
Dennis,
and you got Pitt Martin all coming down on you on a fast break. What are you looking at, and what's going through your mind?
you'd just say, "Or get them." Well, you don't really think about anything. If you start concentrating on a guy, when I coached high school and coaching the kids and the goaltender, and I said, "Hey, what should you be watching when you're playing?" Well, the guy where he's, I said, "No, you only have one man that's your man. That's it. It's the round puck.
Okay.
That's your man. You don't watch nothing else. Don't worry about where Joe Blow is, the puck." Because I said, because if the puck is here, that guy is standing here. And if you're worrying about him, you're not watching the puck, and you're not in the right angle to do that.
Yep, makes sense.
So your man's the puck.
Okay.
But you never really, there was, in that league, every team has guys, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Makita, my God, what a player he was. Cornway, Darryl Sittler, different teams you have. Everybody's got tough guys. Montreal always had guys that could skate like the wind.
Right.
So it didn't really matter. I never really concentrated on one guy. It was focus on what you're supposed to do.
All right, so that's a nice insight. So let's get back to where you were talking about. It's now the summer of 1971, and you're in the Oklahoma City training camp, right? And looking to continue your quest to the NHL.
Well, after I played in Oklahoma City, then the next year I was invited back to camp with Oklahoma City in London, Ontario. And in that training camp was Oklahoma City, the new Boston Braves team, and the Bruins. We're all in the same camp because it was the Bruins organization.
Okay.
So we all were, and so I got a letter to go to London, Ontario, training camp, and with Oklahoma City. So in the middle of the training camp, the trainer who I didn't get along with too good, he was kind of a know-it-all type guy, and he was a pain in the fanny. He asked for something and he'd be giving you a hard time. Why do you want this? And anyway, he said, Milt wants to see you, just like that. And he said, he's up in the stands. And he walks away. So I'm getting undressed, and I get dressed, and so I go out in the rink, and because the Bruins were practicing. We had practiced, and then the Bruins were on the ice, so Milt was watching the practice. So I see him, so I go all the way up, sit. He said, how you doing? I said, good. He said, sit down. He said, I'd like to chat with you. And he said, you're having a decent camp, he said. I said, well, you know, it's the first camp I've really been at. I've never been at a camp like this where it was so regimented and everything was done and you just followed. If you didn't follow orders, you were kind of stupid, but it was so easy. And I said, you know, in Providence, we had training camp, but it wasn't like this. And so he said, well, anyway, he said, you know, we got the Braves coming up for our first year with them, and he said, how'd you like to play in Boston? I'm going, I just got fired last year, go to Oklahoma City, go home, work all summer, go to training camp in London, Ontario. Now the guy's asking me if I want to play in Boston. I'm looking, where the hell am I? So anyway, long story, I said kiddingly, as
you do.
Brookie is a kidder.
Yeah.
I said, can I live at the Park Plaza? Because this was for the Braves team, and we were going to play in the Garden and everything. And he said, if you can make practice, you can live anywhere you want. I said, I could live in Lincoln if you can make practice. I died and went to heaven.
You certainly did. Someone's looking after you.
So I call home and say, you're not going to believe this. I'm not going to Oklahoma City. I'm going to live in Lincoln and play in Boston. Is that okay? And that's how that happened.
Wow. Go ahead.
So the same scenario comes the next year. I play with the Braves. We had a good year. I'll explain that after.
Okay.
But the next year, same scenario. I'm in the room at training camp in London, Ontario, and I'm room with Sanderson, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I saw him about 2 days out of 16, I think. And the phone rings, and it's Tom Johnson. He's the coach of the Bruins at the time. And he said, hey, he said, we're going to keep you, kid. I'm in training camp with the Bruins, and that's all he said, we're going to keep you, kid. And I'm saying, I'm no friggin' kid, but that's fine.
You're 35 years old.
That's how that happened. So,
okay.
But the year with the Braves was one of the best years I ever had playing hockey. It was so much fun.
A lot of success.
We won the goaltending award, Butch and I, and it just resonates back to, I can't play here, but I could play in Oak City a few games, and now I can play in Boston 30-odd games and share an award. What happened?
Well, that's where karma goes sometimes, right? It just takes care of the good people out there.
And it was, it was such a rewarding situation. And then to be told, hey, kid, we're going to keep you. And then when I called home, and, that was unbelievable. And then I called my dad, and, oh, my God, he couldn't, I said, you're not going to believe this. All the baloney we went through as young kids growing up playing hockey all over the friggin' place, and now this, and it was just so rewarding.
Yeah. Before we get into the Bruins with you, even better, Game 7 of the AHL Championship, you're playing the Providence Reds, and you're in goal?
Yeah.
How cool was that? And then talk about George Sage after the game.
Bep Goodland was our coach, and he was a great guy, and he was just a good man, and he was a decent coach, obviously. And so I'm on the bench in Boston with the Braves. After practice, we're sitting there, and Butch and I are talking, and he comes over. He said, I guess you guys are wondering what's going on, eh? And so I said, I understand, I know my role, and when it's time, it's time. I'll play when I get asked. That's not a problem. He said, we're Butch has been playing a little bit, but you're going to play shortly, he said, and he said, just want you guys to know, Butch, you're going to play all the games against Hershey, because that's where Butch was the year before. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're going to play all the games against Providence. I go, oh my God, you got to be kidding. I never thought about it at the time, but on the drive home, when I was driving home, I'm saying, I'm playing the games against Providence.
And they just fired me a year ago.
Yeah, and the first game's in Providence.
At the auditorium. Was it at the auditorium?
How do you do that? Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, so that's fine with me. I said, I'll do whatever. And the story goes from there. We played the first game there. We won.
Okay.
A close game, but we won, and it was just very rewarding. So the end of the year comes, we play Providence in the playoffs, we beat them out. And so, the guys knew how much I felt anyway. The first game in Providence, they played their fanny off for me.
For you, yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
And then, but coming into the last game, it was just our team effort. We were going to beat them anyway, it didn't matter. But the game was over. We're in the lobby of the garden behind where the Zamboni comes out, and everybody's mingling around, and see this guy come walking over to me. And he comes over and he said, hey, he said, congratulations. He said, I'm so happy for you. I'm proud of what you've done. He said, we should never have let you go. It was George Sage.
The president of the Reds.
Walked all the way over to say that to me. He is
classy.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
Total. And, so we had a little conversation, and he said, I'm so happy for you.
All right, so now we know that you got the call up from Johnson saying that you're going to be the goalie. Talk us through the 1972-73 campaign with the Boston Bruins as a 35-year-old rookie goaltender in the NHL.
Well, I never thought of that, honestly. I mean, it was my chance, and it was something that, all those years you're working for, and then you get a chance. The biggest thing was walking into the room. I walked into the dressing room after training camp. We all went back to Boston, obviously, and I walk in the room, and I'm looking around. I'm looking at the names: Eddie Johnson and Dallas Smith and Kenny Hodge and Esposito and O'Reilly and Milbury, and you just keep going and looking, and Greg Shepard and that, and then you look at Bobby Orr, friggin' Bobby Orr, you gotta be kidding me. And then I go down to the end of the room, and Eddie J sat here, and I sat here at the end of the room, and then saw Brooks on the tag.
Wow. Bring tears to your eyes almost?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Cool.
I was just like, what the hell was this? And then
What a journey also for you
what
there,
a journey.
Rob.
And then to play, the first game I played in Buffalo, they threw my underwear out after the game. I must have lost 10 pounds. I was so nervous and scared and frig. And we tied 2-2 in first game. And then Tommy Johnson says, Popsy, I call him Popsy, EJ's going to play Thursday and you're going to play Saturday. Okay. Never thought any more about it. I'm looking at the friggin' schedule.
Yes.
Toronto.
Going home.
So,
Hockey night in Canada, right?
Hockey night in Canada, which I was on
Wow.
after the game. Oh my God, it was something else. And the funny part about it, I talked my mom and dad out of not going to Buffalo because of the weather. And I said, it's going to be on television. I didn't tell them I was playing.
Yeah.
I wanted to surprise them. So, oh my God, they were. Anyway, so playing Toronto, and it was just like, now what? What more can happen after Buffalo and now Toronto? And so I remember Dave Keon, first shot, 1-0. I'm going, oh my God, we'll get a shovel where I can dig a hole. And but anyway, we won 3-2. And after the game, it was like they had me on Hockey Night in Canada, this old guy, and everything was old, he's been there. And so the game's over, dressed, walking out of the building, and you walk out the swinging doors in Maple Leaf Gardens into a hallway that's as big as this building, and there's pictures on the wall, huge pictures of all Toronto Maple Leaf players and history. And
Sure.
And I walk out of there, and and I'm just so elated that, and I had Bobby Orr and that team. Come on, it was a team effort for sure. It wasn't me, but they were so happy for me,
A local boy,
Yeah.
a homegrown boy there.
So-
How cool! That was so cool
So
for
I
you.
walked through the doors, and I just looked straight ahead, and I saw two people standing against a far wall, just standing there, and my mother and father, and I just can't imagine their thoughts.
Wow,
And then I had to get on a bus, and we flew back, but
what a memory, huh?
oh yeah.
So you had a 14-game, because we're running a little bit out of time, you had a 14-game winning streak, which
Yeah.
tied a record.
Right.
Then you got a contract for 3 years for $225,000.
Yeah.
So just quickly give us a couple of highlights of that first year.
Well, the first year it was, just playing was thing, and then we started going, and then I started playing, and then it was 1, 2, and 3, 4 games, and we kept winning, and it was, they were talking, not till it got to 10 or so, they started talking about Tiny Thompson, 1929, this is what he did, but he played every game. I didn't play every game in a row,
Right.
but when I played, that was what it
They
was.
won.
So
Yeah.
that was in question all the time, that he didn't play in a row. And it doesn't matter, I won 14 games in a row when I played, and it was so good. In the 15th game, we played in Oakland, and I wasn't supposed to play. We played in LA the night before. Gilbert played the night before, and then they were pissed at him for something, and he said, "You're playing tomorrow." And that was, so then I played, and we stunk. I mean, I didn't play worth a damn either.
Yeah, but a rookie goalie, up 35 years old. I keep on saying that because it's so rare. What a run that you had for the first year.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, the whole thing. I played 54 games in that league, and I was so. And I never talk about it much, but my record was, the wins and the losses and the ties, and then my goals against average, and then my save percentage was .903. Goals against was like .234 or something like that. I mean, and for that period of time, for me, after being
In the
not
minors forever.
playing and not playing and not playing and not playing, and then doing this, it was just.
37 wins, 7 losses, I think 6 ties, something like
right.
that. So let's talk about your second year. Now you got a year underneath the belt. So
Yeah.
now you're a veteran,
Yeah.
right, with the Bruins, and you make the team for the 73-74 season. Regale us, our audience with a couple of stories, Brooksy.
Well, it was just, you know, the second year was like, you know, now you're vested in the team, and you're playing. And
You have a 3-year contract too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have that, and that was unheard of for myself. We never had a contract, for Christ's
Right.
sake. And you know, but the guys were so good to me. Eddie Johnson was so good to me, and God bless him. He's 90 years old. He's in a hospital in Pittsburgh as we speak. I talked to him the other day, and he's struggling, and he was so good to me. He told the guys, he's with me, leave him alone.
Okay.
That was it. And
Yeah.
so I didn't get a rookie situation, shaved or whatever, tortured or whatever. He's with me, leave him alone. And the other guy, I mean, Bobby was so good to me. Even to this day, we're good friends, and we talk once in a while. And he was so good to me, and he helped me personally with something that I don't know how I could say thank you to him. It's pretty hard to say thanks to him.
Okay.
And, you know, and he helped me with my golf tournaments, for Chris's tournament. He was unbelievable for that. He was always there for me. The last tournament we had, he came and he signed everybody's everything that they wanted, and he doesn't ask for anything.
Yeah, because you hear about Bobby or having that type, but I mean, you actually lived it with him, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
so he is what he is, probably even more than
Well,
what we know.
You know, like you might ask me, people ask me, what's he like? I said, I'll tell you, my perspective of Bobby Orr is he's a better person than he was a player.
There you go. Doesn't get any better than that, and
No.
he was one of the greatest.
He is. I think I think he still is. I mean,
The greatest defenseman.
I mean, Gordie Howe. Come on. You know, Gretzky is always. They're always talking about Gretzky. He played one way. He didn't play. Gordie Howe did everything. He was tough. Scored goals. Fight. Penalties. He did. Played defensive. Bobby was revolutionized the position.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know? And you ask any guy from that era, or even now, about Bobby Orr, you got to be kidding me. They all say the same thing. He's the best.
Yeah, well, we were blessed to live in New England during that time and grow up with
Right.
the Bruins at that
Right,
time.
right.
And even better, you get to play with them.
Yeah.
That is so remarkable.
And you know, I
to
played
see.
golf with him, and I have a great picture of what you saw with Joe Namath and myself and
Yeah.
Orr. And he was, to play golf with Bobby and that was so much fun, and it was so different. And not many people get a chance to do that. And I was lucky enough to get to do that. And to this day, we talk. He'll call me. He'll say my phone, no ID or something on the phone. I know it's him. He's the only one that does that.
Yeah.
And he'll call me, and we don't talk long. We talk, but he called me the other day about EJ, because I had told him, I had sent him an email that I had talked to EJ, and he sounded okay. And then I talked to his wife the other day, and she didn't say too much that he was doing.
Yeah. But we got about 5 minutes left, so we're going to jump out of the second year that you had with him. So you had 2 years now, Brooksy, with Jerry Cheevers returning to the Bruins.
Right.
You spend the 75-76 campaign with the American Hockey League,
Right.
Rochester Americans, but you retire on your own terms. Talk about that last year.
Well, I knew that was, if I wasn't going to be with the Bruins and I had to finish my contract, I wasn't going to give that up. And there was a chance that I could have done some coaching, but I would have had it split my contract. And at that time, I couldn't afford to do that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's still 70s. It's not 90s or whatever. And so playing in Rochester, and then I knew that was what was going to happen. So went there and played, and it wasn't totally enjoyable because of what I'd just been through. But I was still happy to have a job. That somebody said, well, we want you here, and that was it. It wasn't like in Providence where I never knew from one day to the next if I was going to play or not play, which I never did a lot. And so that was finishing up. And then at the end of the year, I played the last game, which we won. And I just sat down after and said, you know, where am I going? Where am I where can I go try out now? I'm at, you know,
37, 38 years old at that point in time.
Should I take a chance or not? And so I just decided that why go through it now? I've accomplished something. Leave it alone.
Yeah, and it's so much better to retire on your own terms as opposed to someone else saying you're washed up, you're not going to do it. So that was a good thing. Now, Brooksy, we've got about 2 minutes left. You were inducted into the Rhode Island Hockey Hall of Fame in 2025, correct?
Yep.
What does that honor mean to you?
It meant it was an honor. Period. There was no question. I was, you know, very pleased. But the biggest part about it was the night of the event. You know, I had to make a speech, and I went through the speech 100 times, and you didn't want to leave somebody out or whatever. But but my whole family was there, and my daughter came from Florida, and Les and Kelly came up from Florida, and Cooper came up, and to have them all there at that table, and that never happens because one lives here, and I'm in the middle, and we never totally get together. Maybe if it's a visit, it's one day or some damn thing.
Sure.
So to have them there, but you know, the recognition of that, I only wish that my mom and dad could have seen that, and Christopher could have seen that, because I think that would have meant more to them than it would be to me. It was, but honestly, I was proud of it. But you know, I've been so fortunate to have so many good friends in this state, and people that I've met over the years, and how what we've done. And my dad always said, "I don't know how you do what you do with you. You hardly get out of high school." And I said, "You taught me one thing: common sense."
Yeah, and that can get you a long way.
It's got me everywhere.
All right, so we've got 2 minutes left. So
you said that a minute ago.
I did. That's right. So, but I just got to look at it. So, what words of wisdom do you have for any high school hockey players now who aspire to play professional hockey? Give me about 1 minute.
Enjoy the 4 years that you have at school. I used to preach this when I coached Lincoln. Whether you're here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and work at it. Be respectful for yourself and work for your family and everything. But 95% of you, when this season is over and you're a senior, will not play again.
True.
And I said, go home and tell your parents that, because that's exactly what happens. Everybody thinks they're going here. They're not. If they get here, they're lucky. So enjoy the years that you have, and enjoy your coach, and listen to, you know, it's a learning process. Whether you're good, doesn't matter if you're a great player or just an average guy, but you're on the if you're on the team, you're on the friggin' team.
Yes, absolutely. And those memories will last forever. You know, if you've got teammates, high school teammates, you know, I still get together with a lot of my friends from St. Ray's, and we talk about those days.
I see my son-in-law who went to Westfield and in high school, meet guys today that they played hockey way back, and it's like, oh my God, we played. Oh, how good is that, you know?
Well, Brooksy, your perseverance in pursuit of your childhood dream of playing in the National Hockey League is inspiring, and it's been a distinct pleasure to have you tell your story on Good Sports Classics. Thank you very much, and great job.
I enjoyed it very much, and if you ever want me back, I'd be happy to do it again.
Well, because you've got a whole nother career after you left the Rochester Americans, and we will follow up with that sometime down the line.
Okay.
So I'm Bill Mulholland for Good Sports. Good night.